Got you about as straight down view as I could get. Let's see, I'm going to swing you over here. Pretty much the tools you're going to need. Well, I'm not even sure I can get them in that thing. There we go. So, need a 5/16 socket or nut driver, 1/4 inch. You may need a small pair of pliers, or say a wrench if you use it in a socket. I use a drill bit when I'm putting the brushes back in. You can use a paper clip, any small metal piece. You could probably get away with a toothpick, even a wooden toothpick. So that particular tool is just whatever is straight and thin enough to hold the excuse me, to hold the brushes back in place. All right, guys. So my camera moved, so I'm not quite sure. I'll figure it out in editing where it was at. Removed all 4 bolts from the alternator here, and I was telling you that you need to mark where your port was, mostly because you care about this is the only stud that's going to be reused. We're going to hopefully the company that I buy my regulator from, I think they sell a plug for that, so I'll be getting one of those. I'm going to do this video. It's going to be one part as far as you're concerned, but I'm going to do part of it this morning, take the regulator out, take it down with me to the store, pick up a new regulator. And I live in a small town, or 10 miles from a small town, and these parts are readily available locally. So anybody who lives in a fairly large city at all will find these parts locally. You don't necessarily have to order them online, although I will see if I can find links for those on Amazon and add those. Anyway, just mark where that port is, especially if this has already been on your car or truck and you're going to be replacing it. The good news is you can buy an alternator and they'll be clocked at different positions. That's what they call this, when this is at different positions relative to, I believe it's to this boss, this mounting boss. And if you get one and it's not in the right place, it's very simple. It's even simpler to move it if you've already had it apart doing this regulator change. But if you just bought one and it's in the wrong place, you can spin this. Now the corner is going to hit this boss. You got to be super careful. Just raise that enough, and super careful. I was playing with this in the first part of the video, and I snapped the bushings out, which is not hard to replace, but it's just something else to do. And then as soon as it goes past that, let it drop down again, rotate it, pick it up real slow again, just wiggling it, and as soon as you get it, if you go even 1/8 of an inch more, the bushings are going to come out, and then you can go past it. And so just to that quick, we've already moved it from this side over here. We moved it 180 degrees. So, and it can be clocked in any of the 4 positions. Obviously, if this plug was right here, it's not really going to work very well for you, because now you're going to have a bolt hole going through it. So there's really only 3 usable locations, but you can put it at any of those. That said, mine goes over here, lines up well. That's where I ran all the wiring when I was doing it. Now I'm going to slowly pull this up, and you're going to hear a click, and that's the bushings, or not the bushings, but the brushes coming out of their holders. We'll take it off, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so here we go. Listen close. Right, there was one. There's the other one. Those 2 little clicks. And now, if we look down in here, let me get something to point with. These 2 items are the brushes that get in contact with these 2 copper wheels. The springs there are what keep force on those brushes pushing up against these coppers. When we go to put this back together, we have to put those brushes back in to the holder. That's what our drill bit's going to be used for, because we can come through the back side. We able to come. Oh, one of the springs just came out in my hand. Let me just take them both out before I lose one of them. We'll be able to go through. There's a little rectangular hole back here. Be able to go through it, and we can line up with the brushes, with the holes in the brush holder, and there's holes in the brushes to hold all that together. If you've ever worked on Like I use a lot of the Harbor Freight grinders, and they come with a spare pair of brushes. It's the same thing. You can take them apart that way. Now, this part will not come out unless you were to also take this all apart over here, because they're all tied to that. So it's not necessary to take it out and to replace the regulator. The regulator is the white piece underneath the brush holder. So we're going to take the brush holder off, and then we're going to take the regulator out of there. So let me see if I can reposition the camera a little bit. There we go. And yes, my workbench is a mess today. I've been working on stuff, not cleaning stuff. So let's see, we're going to need to take this bolt out. And if you're not familiar with these, I recommend just take your phone out, snap a picture of this so that you can have a picture of where each of these different wires go to and come from. I think there's going to be 2 screws that length, and then one of the screws is a little bit longer, so you kind of want to pay attention to that. And also you'll notice the screw I'm working with right now and the next one have nylon basically washers surrounding them, and that's because they need to be protected, otherwise they'll ground out the system. So this one is a ground, that's why it's on directly on that metal. The other two you don't want them grounding out. Okay, so taking that nut off, taking this nut off the rectifier. This one's going to be easier just to take it off where I started, just now that I can reach it a little better. So you can see that nut with the whole nylon washer on it to protect it. So, all right, we got that one off. So I'm just going to put this other back on, since I didn't really need it out of there after all. What it turned out was the wire coming off of, I believe that's called a stator. I'm terrible with remembering all the names. And then there's our bolt from the back side, and that was the big bolt that I just took the nut off of, the 7/16. But anyway, our red wire was underneath the wire coming off of the coil here. So I'm gonna leave it just snug for now. Set this aside for a few minutes. So what we're really after is the regulator here. So we're gonna pull this other washer and bolt out. There's the brush package. And now we can just real quickly put the springs back in here. And then, now this is the top side as we were looking at it. And we have to bring our pin, in this case a drill bit, through the whole case. So I'm actually going in backwards right now. I'm just going to hold the brushes in there. You can see how that functions now. Drill bit goes through. When we do it later, this can be laying in the bottom like that again. Instead of the drill bit going in from this side, we're going to come through the back of the case and up through there the same way. And all I'll do is I'll set it down in there the way it is. Then I'll put my thumb over it, hold it, move the drill bit. But it's easier to load the brushes right now that way. Okay. Then we're going to want a new regulator, and basically it tells you right on here this is a 12-volt regulator. We're going to go get one, and it's going to say 12 volt, and I believe they even say 1 wire on them, but these pins will be missing or have a plug over them. So we're going to save our wire. Set those aside, and I'm going to shut you off and go get our new parts. All right, guys, well, I'm back from the parts house. Got a new regulator. Got the little rubber plug that hides the wires like so. And all you gotta do is reinstall it down in there, and then probably before I go ahead and actually install this back on the vehicle, I'll run it back over to the parts house, the place where I get this stuff. He's got a alternator tester, and he'll just make sure it's making all the voltage that we were expecting, but or the voltage and the amperage. But anyway, so kind of put this all back together the same way we took it apart. Put that on upside down compared to how it was. Let me flip that over real quick. That looks more like the way it was. Well, there you go. Just in the hours since I did this, I had to look at it on my picture that I took. Put this pin back in back here, and I'd already forgotten that that wire goes under that one. So the three for the regulator and the brush holder are in. Now we can put this piece back in. Sit that wire over that and the larger nut that we took off. That's that. So now we just need to hold those brushes in, pull the drill bit out, and then you go through the rectangular hole and you'll see a round hole inside it. Push it right back through. Now you can see the end of the drill bit. I'll stick a close-up picture in there of that through there, and now it's all locked in place. Set it wherever you need it, and then like I said, I want, oops, need mine lined up with the pencil marks I made. We're going to put that in there so it's plugged, so nobody tries to plug the other wires into it. And these are 5/16. These back down. That's it. Pull the drill bit. Make sure it spins. All done. That's it. That's how to convert the wire or the alternator to a or the alternator from a 3-wire to a 1-wire. And the only other things, like I said, I'm going to run this one back into town. Probably do it tomorrow, and I'm sure I'll be headed in at some point. I'll run it in and let them just run a test on it and make sure it's producing. But the fact is, you could hook it up to your vehicle if you have a running vehicle. Go ahead and hook it up, and all you got to do is measure. If you're getting 12 volts at this post, 12 positive, and really it's going to be closer to 14.4 coming straight off the poster, then you know it's functioning. Otherwise, if if you just took your regular S10 alternator and unplugged this and tried to run it, you would not get a charge here because there's not building, it's not exciting the, what am I trying to tell you? You're not getting a signal to excite the regulator. So the way this one works is it's all done internally. Also, this is probably somebody's, I don't know where this alternator came from, but it's probably somebody's aftermarket high amperage alternator. The reason those wires are in there, normally you would see a diode pack in there, which would be 3 diodes that are all put together, and they would be on the studs that were on the rectifier, and those help control the voltage, so or the field. And anyway, this doesn't have that. These wires are in there probably because this is, I'm guessing somebody's, hopped up 80 or 100 amp alternator. And interesting that it was done like that and then not already made into a 1-wire, but have a great day.
Thanks for watching Allison Customs Project Car TV. Like us on Facebook and check us out at AllisonCustomsOnline.com.